Welcome to another episode of NSN's Training in 10, the innovative, self-paced training module which allows you to get trained and to get going. Today's topic is adding stations to satellites and programs. While this exercise shows operation in SitePro 2.0 versions and higher, the principles you will see today apply to all versions of the software. In this lesson, we will focus on a typical scenario where you would add stations to the controller and to SitePro, the importance of understanding the database triangle, adding information to the control system, adding hydraulic links and assigning stations to these links, assigning stations to existing programs, how to verify that you have correctly completed adding these stations to your system, and other training intent options designed to help you become a better manager of your SitePro system. Let's begin with our scenario. The club that you work for has decided to add a forward tee on the 16th hole. You have decided to do most of the construction in-house. When the work is completed, you have added 3 additional heads to your irrigation system. You wired these heads independently to the existing controller that is located near the 16th tee. The end result is that you have taken what was once a 29 station controller and have added stations 30, 31, and 32 to accommodate your new tee. Now that the work in the field is done, you need to program the database to add these 3 new stations. Before we talk about the physical task of adding stations to the software, let's first discuss what we like to call the database triangle. Your Toro SitePro database is comprised of 3 separate and smaller databases that each contain very important information. The first of these is the control system. Within the software, the control system acts as the brains of your database. This is where you physically enter data that describes your property, the number of controllers that you've installed, and all of the station information for each controller. The hydraulic database provides protection to your system to ensure that you have never run too much water to any particular area. The program database is what actually turns the sprinkler heads on and off based on your scheduling requirements. Your job as a manager of the software is to ensure that all 3 of these databases are accurate and that there is a connection between the hydraulic and program databases back to the control system. We will start this process by adding these 3 new stations to the control system. The control system is located in your setup menu and is comprised of 3 separate areas: groups, satellites, and stations. In the database that we are using for this exercise, we have one single group for our 18-hole golf course named NSN Golf Club. In the Satellites tab, you can see all of the information about each controller installed in the field. In the Stations tab, you can see each station of every controller is detailed so that the SitePro software knows what is installed in the field. We begin the process of adding stations to the control system by increasing the station count on the satellite. Navigate to the controller where the stations have been added, and as you can see here, we will simply change the station count from 29 to 32. When you go somewhere else on the screen, a confirmation box will open asking you if you want to modify the stations. Click OK to add these 3 new stations to your system. Next, we will return to the Stations tab and navigate to the 16th tee controller. Here you will see that stations 30, 31, and 32 are available but void of information. Our task now is to fill out each cell of information for each of these 3 new stations. When you have completed entering the information for each of these 3 new stations, your control system is updated. With the control system now accurately reflecting what is installed in the field, we can focus on our next step, adding a new hydraulic link and assigning new stations to this link. The hydraulic system database is also located in the Setup menu of your SitePro desktop. Once you have opened this screen, you will need to locate the existing 16th tee information by using the scroll bar. Once found, you click on the Hole 16 hydraulic link, and on the top of the screen, click on the Add a Pipe icon. As you can see, this adds a pipe to the 16th hole link. On the right-hand side, under Attributes, you give this new pipe a name, and then a flow, and this flow should be the maximum amount of gallons per minute that can flow into this area without creating too much friction loss or potential water hammer. When using a flow chart, we typically limit this flow to an amount that will not exceed a velocity of 5 feet per second. It is important to point out that your actual hydraulic model may look different from the one you can see here. Regardless of its appearance, the principle of adding and assigning remains the same. To begin assigning stations, you click on the Assign tab located on the top right of the hydraulic system screen. What you are looking at here on the right is the control system database which we just updated. Notice that the stations here on the right are identified by their group, their satellite, their station number, their hydraulic link, and the station name. Scroll down to find these new stations that you have added to your system. Once these stations have been located, the assignment is easy. Simply click on the station on the right and then click the hydraulic link that you are going to assign the station to on the left. With both items selected, click the Assign Station arrow that points to the left on the top of the screen. You will notice that the hydraulic value changes from a 0 to a number. Do not concern yourself with this number other than to know that you have now assigned that station to the link selected on the left. Repeat this task for the other two stations and note the new number value within the station address. After repeating these steps for all of the new stations that you have added to your system, you have completed the hydraulic portion and it's time to move on to programs. You must first determine if you are going to assign these stations to an existing program or if you need to write a new program. Writing programs is dealt with in another Training in 10 module. In our example here, we will be assigning these 3 new stations to the existing TEAS program. Before we can begin the assignment, we must first determine how these stations have been identified. We can then go back to the Assign Station screen to complete our task. Assigning stations to programs in SciPro is accomplished by telling SciPro what value or factor to look for within the control system. There are a number of places where we can create this identification value, but in this example we have used the area cell to identify what stations are going to be assigned to what programs. The values that you decide to use must remain consistent across all of the stations within the control system. Here you can see that for TEAS we have used a value of TEE, all lowercase. In a moment, this is the value that we will be telling the software to look for. We assign stations to programs using the Assign Stations tool found in the Setup menu. Once there, we choose what program we are looking to assign stations to and click the Assign Stations button on the right. Leave the selection of Group and Satellite on all. After clicking this icon, a dialog screen opens up asking us to choose the location in the control system that we used for our identification value. Note the check mark in the area box. Once we have told the software where to look, we have to tell it what it is to look for. Note the word T. These two values are already entered because the station assignments to T's have been done before. Leaving the right side of the screen on all groups, we now click the Assign Stations button and put the autoprogrammer to work. A new screen pops up showing us the result of our task. The results shown here show the autoprogrammer removed 146 station assignments and created 149 new assignments, the difference being the 3 new stations we've added to our system. While we can now feel relatively comfortable we've done everything correctly, to verify this we will view a report called Unassigned Stations. Located in the Reports menu, the Unassigned Stations report lists those stations that are either not assigned to a program or to a hydraulic link. If we use our database triangle analogy, this report is showing us the status of the 2 arrows within that triangle. Anytime that you change the assignments between the control system and the hydraulic or program databases, you should check out this report to see if you have done everything properly. Well, another 10 minutes have passed, and that means that you have just completed another episode of NSN's Training in 10. Today's topic has been adding stations to satellites and programs. We hope that this Training in 10 lesson was helpful for you to better understand this important process and that it further enhances your career working with the #1 irrigation central control product, Toro SciPro. Be sure to keep an eye out for future installments of NSN's Training in 10, the self-paced training module which allows you to get trained and to get going. If you have any questions about this or about future training module releases, or if you would like to participate in one of our acclaimed Toro SciPro regional classes, please contact us by calling 888-676-8676 option 2. Once again, that's 888-676-8676 option 2. Toro and Toro's National Support Network. Count on it.